Can I come in?
Please come, Pourush.
Good morning.
Good morning. Please sit down. So, Pourush, tell the panel about yourself briefly.
So my name is Pourush Sood. I have done BTech and MTech dual degree in Electronics and Electrical Communication Engineering from IIT Kharagpur. After that, I had worked in a company called Texas Instruments for 18 months. I stay with my parents, my grandfather and my younger brother in Delhi. But I've lived in many cities in India throughout my life.
So, Pourush, you passed out from IIT Kharagpur after how many? 5 or 6 long years?
5 years.
Why students who leave Kharagpur campus, they remember Kharagpur much more than any other IIT? Is that a fact?
Yes, sir, that is true.
Why is it so? Is it the culture or what? Something special?
So firstly, a lot of other IITs are located in major cities. So there's a lot of traveling outside of the campus as well. But in IIT Kharagpur, we are confined to a rather isolated place, and that becomes our second home. Secondly, there is a very vibrant culture in IIT Kharagpur. Firstly, there are a lot of students. Apart from that, there is a competition between different hostels. The culture is something to be remembered.
But tell me, is stress too much in IIT curriculum?
Sir, we can say that IIT curriculum is stressful. The reason being the sheer amount of subjects that one has to take during their courses, and also the competition within IITs itself.
So this IIT Bombay incident that has happened, though the details haven't come,
Yes, sir.
but there was something in one section of the press that it is because the candidate, the student got less marks. And today IIT probably are thinking and contemplating on reducing the stress.
Yes.
So do you think it's a good step?
Sir, I do believe that instead of having such a vast curriculum, we can have it more streamlined towards the technologies of today. Apart from that, that is one side that can be used to reduce stress. Apart from that, we also need to have proper counseling mechanisms and student welfare bodies to ensure that stress is minimal.
So Pourush, I saw your extracurricular things very interesting. You have got lot of association with Japan.
Yes, sir.
You know, some fellowship and then some IJEP, this thing. You went to Japan also?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So tell me two things. What is the secret behind long life of people in Japan? That is one, which India can emulate. And number two, coming back to the work style.
Yes.
It is said that the work style of Japanese is very tough and very stressful.
Yes.
So, how do you analyze that? Would you like that style to come to India?
Yes.
In the light of what we have just discussed about IITs?
Yes.
Have you got my question?
Yes, sir. So the first question, which talks about the secret of healthy life of the Japanese. I think one major reason is that the food that the Japanese eat traditionally at home, it involves very little fast food, very little fried food. It's mostly high protein diet of fish, miso soup, and even rice and eggs. So these certainly, I mean, in India also we consume a lot of pulses, but they are largely inaccessible to a lot of people due to their cost. So I guess this is one reason for the healthy lifestyle of the Japanese. The second one I would say would be that there is a culture of walking in Japan, which is very commendable. So Japan has a very good public transportation infrastructure. And most of the times, even I used to always walk to the metro stations. Always, I hardly traveled in a car in Japan.
Coming to the stress part, the work style?
Sir, definitely there are some parts of the Japanese work culture that should not be emulated with respect to the high levels of stress. But there are some parts of the culture that can be emulated as well. For example, the discipline and punctuality that the Japanese show. They also treat their work environment as their home. They make sure that they themselves clean, vacuum the work environment, which I also emulated.
Pourush, you were a software engineer also.
Yes, sir.
It is said that this chat GPT is becoming such a revolution that
Yes,
it will result in layoff of millions of software engineers or software and computer.
Sir.
So what do you have to say?
Sir, I think that companies will evolve to make sure that they use ChatGPT most efficiently, and even the software engineers will have to evolve that way. Like now, ChatGPT can generate programs and basic software codes, but there'll be somebody who will have to verify whether those codes are correct. There'll be somebody who will have to test them.
But they will need some kind of extra training and sensitization towards the new technology.
Yes, definitely.
You think the transfer of change will be positive?
I believe that the transfer of change will be positive.
Tell me, the Minister of BT Electronics in India has made a statement about their stand, government stand, not exactly policy, government stand on emerging artificial intelligence. Have you read it?
Sir, I'm not aware of the exact stand by our meaty minister, but I know that in the budget, the focus was to make AI in India and make AI work for India.
You haven't read today's newspaper.
I haven't. Yes.
Pourush,
Yes, sir.
there is a annual event called Raisina Dialogue,
Yes, sir.
which goes on in our capital. What it is all about?
Sir, it's an event organized by the Observer Research Foundation with the help of the Ministry of External Affairs, and it mostly deals with security-related talks.
So this year there was a news of Iran's minister coming, and all of a sudden he cancelled the program.
Yes, sir.
What is at the background of it?
So the background of it was that a promotional video of the event that was held did show some posters of the Iranian protests, and Iran took umbrage to that, and because of that, the Iranian foreign minister declined to attend.
But don't you think that when it was first, unpalatable things should not have been there, and if it was pointed out, they should have removed it? Or you don't agree to this?
Sir, I believe that if this was done in a more diplomatic capacity, this would not have taken place in the first place. But I believe that since Observer Research Foundation is an independent organization, they had the say over here.
But already we don't have very good relations with Iran.
Yes, sir.
But we have some stake there. What are the stakes in Iran?
Sir, the stakes in Iran are one that it can give us a path to Afghanistan, which otherwise would have led from Pakistan, which is not possible right now. Secondly, there can be there's a lot of trade potential also with Iran, because Iran is our maritime neighbor. Thirdly, Iran can also act as a gateway to Central Asia and Europe.
Don't you think that our foreign policy people should have given some nudge to this organization to mend its ways?
Sir, I think the Iranian protests that happened were condemned throughout the world, and the Observer Research Foundation was in its capacity to include that.
Okay. There is another issue of judges, children becoming judges.
Yes, sir.
And it is cited as an example of nepotism.
Yes, sir.
Do you agree?
Sir, to some extent, I do agree with this statement. But on the flip side of it, the judges that the children of judges who become judges themselves have law degrees from very reputable firms and have shown their lawmaking prowess. But this is certainly a problem due to the lack of transparency of the judges' appointees.
Can I cite it in as an instance? Suppose I say a IPS officer is there, son also becomes IPS officer.
Sir, I do not think that would be a case of nepotism, because the process of selection of IPS officers is very transparent and is purely merit based. But the appointment of judges is slightly more opaque in that way.
Opaqueness.
Yes, sir.
How do you think we can introduce some transparency in it?
Sir, currently the collegium, these deliberations are mostly closed door. The first step would be to at least make them more transparent in public domain. For example, in the United States of America, judges are interviewed in public domain with regards to law-related issues before their appointment. Similar case can be implemented in India as well.
Will it not be embarrassing?
Sir, I believe transparency will rather increase the accountability rather than it being embarrassing.
I will give another proposition to you. You see, presently the High Court judges are retiring at, say, I think 62.
years.
Whereas Supreme Court judges are retiring at 65.
Yes.
Let us raise the age of retirement for High Court judges to 65.
Yes, sir.
So that it is same for High Court as well as Supreme Court. Do you think if we do that, do we still get judges for Supreme Court? That Chief Justice of the High Court, if he retires at 65, will he switch over from at the age of 62, 63, 64 to Supreme Court?
Sir, they might switch over, but then there'll be a reduction, because a lot of times after the age of 62, some High Court judges move to the Supreme Court. So maybe a better way would be to increase the age of retirement age of both Supreme Court and High Court judges. But maybe the Supreme Court age could be kept higher than the High Court age.
Also, you believe that way. Thank you.
Pourush,
Sir.
you are doing multidisciplinary research in data processing.
Yes, sir.
So can you tell me something more about what research have you done
Yes,
so
sir.
far?
Sir, so my approach has always been to work in the processing of different kinds of data that different labs in my college had promoted. So one example was eye tracking based data processing. So eye tracking is basically where we look at while solving problems, the coordinates of those points. So that was collected using an eye tracker, and I tried to understand how humans actually solved problems based on their eye movements. Secondly, I've also worked with social media posts and journals which people write to identify more information about individuals. I've also done research on PPG signals in terms of signal processing.
Very good. So have you taken any IPR?
Yes, sir. I have filed one patent, and many. I have around 3 journal publications as well.
Right. So tell me usage of your research in field of policing and psychology.
Yes, sir. Sir, so the research that I had done on eye tracking, that can be used in a lot of investigative techniques as well. So especially in terms of people like understanding if a person is suspicious or not, because generally a person who is lying has their eye movements a lot different than a person who is telling the truth. So that is one. And in terms of psychology, eye movements have largely been used to identify early signs of dementia and Alzheimer's disease as well.
As they say, aankhein jhoot nahi bolti.
Yes.
Very good. Tell me about population problem of Japan.
Yes, sir.
We hear a lot. So, and what India can learn on this issue?
Yes, sir. So, sir, it's a well-known fact that the population of Japan is declining, and it has a huge percentage of elderly population right now. The reasons for these are primarily that Japan has become a very urbanized society, and the urban cost of living has become very high, especially in cities like Tokyo. So, the youth are themselves not willing to have more children. And what India can learn from this is that we are also going to face a similar issue in, say, next 50 years or so, when our population actually starts declining. And there are some things to learn from Japan. For example, the kind of elderly care facilities that Japan has, we need to start preparing for that from now as well, now itself. And secondly, India is also projected to have 50% urbanization by 2050. So we need to make sure that our cities become more livable, have a proper standard of living.
Okay, what is quantum entanglement and how can it be used in administration?
So quantum entanglement is a quantum mechanics phenomenon in which two particles get entangled so that any change in one particle will be reflected in the entangled particle as well. With respect to how it can be used in administration, I think quantum entanglement can be used for improving cryptographic methods so that communication channels become more secure, especially in, say, high sensitivity channels like, say, intelligence or diplomatic channels that are there in administration. Apart from that, quantum entanglement is also used in quantum computing, which can greatly improve data processing. That is.
Last question. One problem of Delhi,
Yes, sir.
identify one problem of Delhi and how will you solve it?
Yes, sir. Sir, one major problem that I see is the pollution in Delhi, not just the air pollution, but also the water and soil pollution that we see. And the way to solve it would be first to have better implementation of waste segregation mechanisms, especially in the mountains of garbage that we have in Delhi. Secondly, in terms of water pollution, we need to make sure that we develop our drains, like the Najafgarh drain, which is also called Sahibi River. That needs development because those drains directly pump out their water into the Yamuna, which causes an increased water pollution. And in terms of air pollution, the solutions are many, like reduction of stubble burning in neighboring states, and improving, adding more smog towers, and having the graded response action plan.
Thank you, sir. Pourush, have you heard of this graded response action plan?
Yes, sir.
On what principle does it work?
Sir, it works on the principle that different kinds of pollution levels would require a different response. And it's more like a reactive measure to how the pollution is in the city.
Okay, good. Have you heard of this Bhashini? Bhashini?
No, sir, I haven't.
Bhashini?
No, sir.
Okay, no problem. Raisina dialogue?
Yes, sir.
Is it going to happen?
Yes, sir. It's going to happen.
Okay. Suppose you are supposed to speak there for 1 minute.
Yes, sir.
On the topic. Rather, you have to elaborate the statement given by Honorable Prime Minister a couple of months back that this is not an era of war.
Yes, sir.
So you have to elaborate for 1 minute. How will you go about it?
I may have a moment to think.
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. So I would say that this is not an era of war because we have much bigger problems to tackle right now than these narrow-minded territorial disputes like climate change, the challenge of biodiversity. We have just recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic, and we are not even our economies have not even gone back to the pre-scale levels, and we also have so much of debt in developing countries. So so war is unnecessarily diverting our attention from issues that actually need more focus.
Pourush, yesterday, Honorable Prime Minister made a statement that we have been able to convert crises into opportunities.
Yes, sir.
Can you cite some examples?
Yes, sir. So, one definitely being the initiative that we took during the COVID-19 pandemic. There was a chip shortage, so we embarked on programs like the design-linked incentive.
Yeah, that is one. Tell me one or two more.
Yes, sir. The other would be that the climate change itself is a big crisis, and we are converting into an opportunity by embarking on research and development in emerging technologies like the green hydrogen mission.
Pourush, God forbid if there is a breakout of war between India and China.
Yes, sir.
So, which side do you think Russia will be on? And why?
Sir, I think it will be very difficult to say which side it will be on, but I do not think it will support one side unilaterally. I do believe that it might be China that it might side a little more on due to the fact that Russia's dependence on China is increasing.
Yeah. Okay. Now, my last question: you are also interested in teaching.
Yes, sir.
So recently, government of the UGC has invited foreign universities to set up their campus here.
Yes, sir.
So don't you think that it will further basically add to the inequity in our educational system? Already there are people who don't have access to even basics of education, and they are not having access to good private universities. So once we have foreign universities, it will it will increase the gap further.
Sir, I think the UGC guidelines with respect to foreign universities are without hampering the university structure that exists already in India. They are going to be on top of or additional to what universities we already have here. And I think the focus with respect to that would be to reduce the brain drain which happens from India to abroad. So at least those students will might prefer to stay back within the country. Apart from that, I think these foreign universities, especially the top rank ones, can also set an example for the best practices that our own universities can take as well.
Can we also, convince the foreign universities to take, go for kind of some reservation for EWS as we have here in India, some in education, that reservation for EWS?
I believe we can, sir, and we can also make some norms on the lines of corporate social responsibility for.
Okay, good, very good.
So, thank you, sir. Yes, Pourush.
Yes, sir.
Mathematics is your optional subject, right?
Yes, sir.
So, tell me the importance of Fibonacci series.
So Fibonacci series has been seen since ancient times, and it occurs a lot in our nature. So, so the first time the Fibonacci series was discovered was by an Indian scientist, Veera Hanka, who used Fibonacci series in musical notes, in finding patterns in musical notes. Apart from that, Fibonacci series leads us to a ratio called the golden ratio, which is seen many a times in patterns that occur in nature, like flowers.
Okay. What is your opinion on one nation, one election?
So, one nation, one election, which refers to simultaneously holding the central general election as well as the state legislative assembly elections, might help in reducing the overall administrative cost of elections, and also might reduce the measure of populist policies in the country. However, I do believe that it might not be possible to introduce such a case in India. The first elections that took place were simultaneous. But since in the parliamentary democracy like India, governments can fall at any time, we can lose synchronization with respect to elections of states and center anytime.
Okay. And what's your take on Uniform Civil Code?
Sir, Uniform Civil Code, as also envisaged in the Article 44 of the Constitution, should be the way forward, because that would ensure that the basic rights of everyone are uniform in the country. Having said that, we need to also ensure that there is a consensus building mechanism, which might take a long time, but we need to give it enough time and have a consensus building mechanism between different sections of the society before we bring such a code in.
Okay. Fundamentals of Indian economy are quite strong.
Yes.
Still, we are affected by external reports such as Hindenburg report.
Yes, sir.
So, what's your take on that?
Sir, firstly, the Hindenburg report and the such reports are quite reputed in the international community, and India has a huge component of its investments and in terms of foreign direct and foreign portfolio investments. So, firstly, such reports and allegations, such huge companies can affect the consumer, the investor sentiment, especially investors from abroad. It can also cast a shadow on the credibility of our institutions like SEBI, which can also reduce the investor confidence in the country. I think this is the primary reason why it can affect the Indian economy.
Okay, so Pourush, talking about the recent union budget.
Yes, sir.
Tell me 3 things which you think were ignored in this budget.
Sir, one would definitely be increasing the capacity of our healthcare system, especially since we have just recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic. Secondly, while the tourism sector did have enough focus, the quantum of money allocated to the tourism sector was not increased, and I think that could have been increased, because this year is the year of G20 and the SEO summit, where we are going to see a lot of tourism. Sir, the third sector that I would say was slightly ignored was the education sector as well. While there were some initiatives like the digital libraries for children, but I think there should have been a little more focus on the implementation of the national education policy.
Okay, thank you, Pourush. I pass on to Chairman, sir.
So, Pourush, we have covered quite a few areas from your DAF. If you think that anything has been left to be asked, you can point it out so that I can ask the last question.
Sir, while most of the things have been covered, maybe a little more from my academic achievements and my research.
All right. So let me go through the So we have covered Japan. So you got all right. Okay, so you were a part of you were the head of technology transfer group in
Yes, sir.
IIT Kharagpur.
Yes, sir.
So what was your responsibility, Pourush?
Sir, our major responsibility here was to increase the awareness about IPR and research amongst the undergraduate community of IIT Kharagpur, because it's usually that it is the undergraduate community who do not take part in much of a research and go for masters in countries abroad. So we wanted to create a much more inculcative environment within the campus.
So, but what will be the employability in case they go for research?
Sir, employability can be in multiple areas. The industry also requires, say, doctoral students and master's students. Apart from that, academia is also a major career, and India, as we know, does have a dearth of talent in this domain.
So that's all, Pourush. The interview is over. You may proceed to the next room. We'll call you in few minutes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. May I come in, sir?
Please come, Pourush. Please sit down. Please sit down. So, Pourush, we generally ask the candidates how they have done
Yes, sir.
in the interview. So, give us your comments.
Sir, I think my language could have been a little more formal. I think I used words like I guess and all a little bit. But apart from that, I am satisfied.
So, Pourush, let me give the opinion of the panel. You were very good, Pourush. You really did very well. Kind of all-rounder. Personality, knowledge, content, delivery, right? And almost flawless. Your content was good. You were pleasing. You were in a good conversation mode. There was no informality. You can avoid using I guess. जहाँ जहाँ आप देखोगे वीडियो में, we did not note it so conspicuously. I don't know, but maybe other members have. But since you have identified, we would not say that it is a good thing.
Yes, sir.
You know? So you could be more confident.
Yes, sir.
You know, think is okay. I think instead of I guess,
Yes, sir.
because you never. You see, you tell two things. One is what you know from what you have read,
Yes, sir.
and the other is you think. Right?
Yes, sir.
अपनी ओपिनियन देते हो तो थिंक बोलते हो और वो तो यू कैन यूज दिस अदरवाइज एवरीथिंग वाज टैकल्ड वेरी नाइसली आई एम वेरी हैप्पी सो इज द पैनल सो कीप इट अप योर टाई इज वेरी गुड very smart but maybe you could avoid this tie in the main
Okay.
interview, make it more simpler.
Sure, sir.
Otherwise
I will
it's
do that.
very smart.
Sure,
Yeah.
sir.
So, Pourush, no tweaking is required anywhere. What you will require that you continue to read newspapers
Yes, sir.
and top up your level every day.
Yes, sir.
That will keep it. If you feel in the chamber of the interview that your voice level is going low, then you can raise it a bit.
Sure, sir.
Otherwise, if the room doesn't have what you call background noise, then even that is quite okay.
Sure, sir.
Not much is required to be done.
Sure, sir.
In some members' room, that AC may be making more noise,
Yeah.
then you may require.
Sure, sir.
Or if you are sitting very far away in some members' room which is bigger,
Yes, sir.
that you make a local adjustment. Otherwise, no tweaking is required at all. Only newspapers.
Voice slightly low.
Slightly low. But then, if suppose you are sitting very close, small table, किसी का छोटा टेबल है, किसी का बड़ा टेबल,
Yes, sir. I'll gauge that level.
तो वो एडजस्ट कर लेना है. ठीक है?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Yeah.
Pourush, everything right on dot. Just keep it up. Your communication, your confidence, knowledge, depth, analysis, addressing various issues from your research to utility of research. I'm very happy. Just keep it up. Even the pitch, I was able to hear you out, but he's rightly saying that gauge for yourself.
Yes.
You know, maybe if you are sitting closer, you will have to manage differently. So That's it.
Well, same here, Pourush. You are an excellent candidate. Just one small observation. In your introduction, you did mention about that I am living with my parents, grandparents, and brother. That you should have.
Okay.
All other part was
Sure.
okay.
Sir. I will.
So Pourush, yes, keep it up and all the best.
Thank you, sir.
So I pass on to Chairman sir. again.
So, Pourush, we have given you 72% today.
Sure, sir.
You've been one of the best
198.
that we have interviewed, and there are not too many. Maybe in all 3 to 4% of the total that we have. So, the relative comparison also has a lot of importance, because in UPSCs also this happens, that the previous one, suppose, who came and you turned out to be better than him, but we have already, the panel has given, say, some X marks,
Yes, sir.
and the next one is good. So in UPSC also, the chairperson consults, and ultimate one of the observations is कि पिछले वाले से अच्छा था कि नहीं.
Right.
हाँ, पिछले वाले से बहुत अच्छा था. कितना दिया? X दिया, तो इसको X+3% मिलना चाहिए, right? These things work a lot. So उस लिहाज से भी you were very good and excellent. Keep it up. If you have any questions, please ask.
Sir, no, not many questions. Just that my dad wants this to be like my final mock that I gave. My interview is on 6th of March. So should I mean, in your suggestion, should I give any other mock or is it fine?
See, Pourush, you are very good. Even if you just be the way you were today, you know, UPSC also will be very happy.
Sure, sir.
So spend more time in brushing up your
Yes, that is more important.
the
You
gaps.
are ready.
Huh? Sorry.
You are ready.
You are ready.
You're ready. I would say gaps,
Yes, sir.
not the core thing. Whatever gaps you think,
Yes, sir.
just go through the DAF. Don't let anything leave anything for chance.
Yes, sir.
कि अरे यार DAF में ये तो नहीं पूछ सकते.
Yeah.
They may ask you something.
Yes,
like that. And they are asking some very unconventional questions also,
Yes, sir.
which are very light-hearted, but it may be very heavy-hearted for you. You know?
Yes, sir.
So, and their smile may be very deceptive.
Yes,
तो
sir.
आपको छोटी छोटी चीज़ों पे भी वो उनकी सीरियसनेस होगी कि भाई दैट इज़ वाई आई स्टार्टेड विद यू नो KGP एंड ऑल. सो एक एक छोटी छोटी बारीक चीज़ को भी आप देख लें. अगर आप कहीं पैदा कहीं हुए हैं तो ये कोई लॉजिक नहीं आप न्यू दिल्ली के ही हो. ऑल थ्रू यू आर इन न्यू दिल्ली.
No, sir. I've stayed in multiple cities.
हाँ, you mentioned also.
Yes.
That's also not required to mention. Okay, so but be careful that all these multiple cities that you have stayed in, but it is not mentioned here. तो आप क्यों mention करते हो?
Sure, sir. I will.
अपना क्यों opportunity खामा खोलते हो? Let खड़गपुर and Delhi be enough और क्या?
Yes, sir.
है ना, जगहों का आप खोलोगे, बैंगलोर हो रहे हैं आपका.
Yes, sir.
So it's visible here. Don't have to mention this.
Sure, sir.
But be बैंगलोर पे पूछ सकते हैं. You stayed in Bangalore, traffic problem, this problem, that problem. Hub, it is an electronics hub. How it is,
Yes.
all this.
Sir, actually, one feedback that I got was that you should add something in your introduction which is outside your DAF or something like that. So that's what I tried to do today, but I had not done this before.
No, but coming to your parents and all is totally no.
Yes, sir, sure.
You know, that is no for some other reason. That is not something different in the right sense.
Right.
Because you know you are dropping the name. Somebody may drop someone's father's name. कि my father is a minister, my father is a civil servant, right? वो adversely लिया जाता है कि आप hint दे रहे हो कि भैया मुझे अच्छे marks दे देना. I have some connections.
We had one case where Amitabh Kant's children had come for mock.
Okay.
Now, just imagine if they would have mentioned,
Yeah.
you know, it certainly means that
Yes.
no one is trying to influence. But fortunately, they never mentioned.
Similarly, some candidates who come, sir, I come from rural area, I come from weaker section, my father was earning very less. That is to arouse sympathy.
Right.
वो भी गलत है. तो इनको मत लाओ. आप ये सोचो कि we have, sir, I have drawn a lot of inspiration from my parents, from my relatives and friends, and my gurus, whatever, something like that. हो गया, different हो गया. फिर अगर वो पूछते हैं कि अच्छा आपका कौन गुरु मानते हो, तो आप कह देना कि सर देयर वाज अ सिविल सर्वेंट. डोंट टेक नेम इवन देन. जब तक वो कहे नहीं कौन है ये,
Okay.
तब डिस्क्लोज करो। पहले से मत बोल दो कि साहब मेरे एक IAS ऑफिसर खड़गपुर में आए थे, उससे मैं बहुत इंप्रेस हुआ। डोंट नरेट अ स्टोरी।
Right.
ऑलराइट,
Sure, sir.
रेस्ट इज फाइन। एनीथिंग एल्स?
Sir, one more thing is about was I like too fast in answering the question?
No, perfect. Should be balanced.
एंड वॉइस का भी देखो, मैंने इसलिए बीच में पूछा क्योंकि आई नेवर फेल्ट अबाउट योर लो वॉइस। वी हैव हैड कैंडिडेट जो बिल्कुल फीबल वॉइस के साथ आते हैं, हम उनको सबसे पहले कहते हैं यार थोड़ा सा पिच बढ़ाओ। यू हैड ऑल द एनर्जी ऑल्सो, एंड बट एज हैज बीन सजेस्टेड टू यू, आप देख लेना वहाँ पर डिस्टेंस के हिसाब से, बट डोंट फील परसिक्यूटेड फॉर दैट कि मैं बहुत हल्का बोला।
Yes.
ऑलराइट, योर डिलीवरी वाज परफेक्ट।
तो पौरुष एक्चुअली क्या होता है, जिसको टॉप मार्क्स मिलने होते हैं ना, तो उसमें यही छोटी मोटी चीज़ें दिक्कत आती हैं। एक इशू आता है अगर बहुत टॉप मार्क्स वाला कैंडिडेट होता है, इंटिमिडेशन का। कोई मेंबर आपको पकड़ लेगा और कोई इशू पर इंटिमिडेट करेगा।
Okay.
रिमेंबर, if there is a issue where pros and cons have to be given or opinion, what you do, give in 2 sentences what has to be spoken. After that, if member speaks something, just patiently listen, enjoy what the member is telling. Within few seconds, the chairperson will snub that member and switch over to another member.
Yes.
That is the normal technique. But don't enter argument with the any member on any issue. Your is to place facts, give your view, and that's it, nothing more. तो ये आर्गुमेंट में कभी नहीं फंसना है, ठीक है ना? हाँ, ध्यान रखिएगा। थैंक यू।
Thank you, sir.
So all the best to you.
All the best.
Thank you, sir.